What's going on, guys? This is Mikeinoid, and today we are going to be talking about Skylanders Swap Force on the Nintendo 3DS. In November, we covered Spyro's Adventure, and last month was Giants, which means we can talk about the third game of the franchise in handheld form. 2013 was a phenomenal year for the 3DS, or 2DS. Nintendo released the kid-friendly doorstopper that loses 3D and the clamshell design. Of course, this made the system a lot more affordable and allowed more people to play 3DS games. Speaking of the games, 2013 is probably the best game lineup. Fire Emblem Awakening, The Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds, Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, Shin Megami Tensei 4, Mario and Luigi Dream Team, Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate, Donkey Kong Country Returns 3D, Animal Crossing New Leaf. That's good shit. 2013 was filled with so many good games. Of course, you had some duds in the plethora of games, but 2013 was filled with such quality titles. It was even the year the most expensive 3DS title released. I guess those pups are just too glamorous. Pokemon X and Y even came out on October 12th, 2013, the same time as the Nintendo 2DS. And literally one day later, Skylanders Swap Force was released. Swap Force is arguably the most important game of the franchise, probably even more than Spyro's Adventure in my opinion. See, the first game needed to prove that the Toys Alive concept is profitable, which it did. Swap Force not only needed to prove that both the Skylanders franchise and Toys Alive can still be fresh enough to continue to sell, but it needed to be competitive enough against its first competition, Disney Infinity. I mean, you have probably the biggest company on earth getting into this franchise with its most recognizable characters. Disney Infinity brought so many recognizable characters, mainly from the time these franchises were coming out in order to promote those movies and whatnot. And Disney Infinity also released a 3DS game called the Toy Box Challenge. I don't know about this game though. The Swap Force 3DS starter pack is incredible. It comes with Free Ranger, Rattleshake, and the in-game variant exclusive to the starter pack, sorta, Volcanic Eruptor, which are all different from the Skylanders that come with the console version starter packs. You get the poster, cards, stickers, and the new version of the Portal of Power. There was no Portal Owners Pack since the old portals wouldn't work with Swap Force, which is why these portals are much more sought after. Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate for anyone who wants to play Swap Force nowadays, but they're not too expensive, so they won't break the bank when you're ready. This is my favorite 3DS starter pack since it pairs nicely with the console starter pack. You get 16 different swap abilities and access to 5 elemental gates and 4 swap zones. Of course, we'll talk about all that stuff once we boot up the game on the 3DS. Ooh, let me grab my Eruptor stylus real quick. Okay, I'm ready. For the first time in the 3DS games, we finally get difficulty settings. You can choose from easy, medium, or hard. I've only played this game on hard and it's still really easy to go through, but you can always change the difficulty in the settings, which is nice. The story starts off celebrating Flynn in his hometown Boomtown, where Count Moneybone attacks and kidnaps Callie, which is a character that wasn't even in the console version of Swap Force. Count Moneybone, probably more well known for being in Superchargers, is actually the most interesting villain of the 3DS series. He's always showing up throughout the game to try to stop you, giving his evil monologues. The Lord of the Undead is even a mix of undead and tech elements, making him a perfect villain for the Skylanders that can consist of 2 elements themselves. But anyways, his plan is to take over Skylands, of course. Boomtown is the main hub here. As the game progresses, the population will increase and there will be new additions with hats. Speaking of hats, there's 136 of them to choose from, with the hats from the previous games are already unlocked, and you can even get the 3 seasonal hats from Kickoff Countdown, Jolly Bumble Blast, and Springtime Trigger Happy. Also, you can get the UFO hat by scanning in the insanely expensive prepaid card. I just have a reproduction one that works just fine and it only costs $4. I was not gonna spend that much money on a real one, come on now. All hats can be equipped in this building where you can view all the Skylanders you summoned so far. 174, god damn! This roster includes the 37 Skylanders from Spyro's Adventure, 62 from Giants, and 75 from Swap Force. I know, it's a lot, But this game rewards you for collecting them all, trust me. You are able to summon guest Skylanders, a new feature that allows you to use Skylanders from other players you came in contact with through Street Pass. Street Pass is a feature that allowed one 3DS to communicate with another in sleep mode. It would exchange data for Street Pass Plaza and other supported titles. I'm sure this was a cool feature back in 2013. If you didn't have a bunch of Skylanders, you would be able to use someone else's for support. Of course, the guest Skylander would only last for one level and it wouldn't get any experience, but when you have an army of 174 Skylanders, this feature isn't really necessary. And let's be honest, I don't think anyone nowadays is going to be walking with Swap Force in the back of their pocket besides my dumbass. In the center of the town, you have this golden ring where Flynn's statue should be that tells you which elements get the daily bonus. You can still travel through Flynn to each level. You can even use the coffin that's in the middle of the town to go to certain levels, even though Flynn is still able to take you there himself. The Tower of Time and Shipwreck Islands can be accessed by the Skylanders Museum once you scan them in the game using the Portal of Power. You interact with the portal and scan your figures like normal and they're in the game forever. There's no crystals that only let you use 2 Skylanders at a time. All Skylanders can be accessed at any time. This is a huge feature that makes the 3DS games feel close to the console versions, to be able to switch between Skylanders at ease. You can tap the Skylander or the element icons to bring up the selection screen and browse your army. The selection screen isn't the smoothest, you have to wait a second or two for it to load the Skylanders, but it's not the slowest thing in the world and it does need to load up a bunch of characters, so it's understandable. Find the Skylander you want, tap it, then you get to play as it. The swappers require a little more effort. When you tap a character, it will let you choose which top or bottom you want. The game lets you scan in any combination of tops and bottom. The swap icon indicates which part of a certain Skylander you own. So if you just scanned in Blast Buckler, you will only be able to use those halves if you didn't own Wash Zone. You can still rescan figures to update their levels so it can carry over to the other games. Swappers take the longest to scan in at around 10 seconds, while other Skylanders take about 5 seconds. Magic items scan in almost instantly and all of them are usable in the game, requiring 30 coins to be activated. You already know the drill, the volcanic vault still doesn't work in these games. The 4 adventure packs from Spyro's Adventure work, but they just work as magic items rather than unlocking more levels. And of course, sidekicks can be scanned in and will follow you around the town. So there's 7 locations part of the main story. Sky Docks, which is just the introduction level, Ancient Woods, Crystal Caverns, Coral Head Cove, Samurai Islands, Undead Fiesta, and Clockwork Castle. There are 19 levels total, 3 levels being boss fights with Count Moneybone, and the rest are your classic start to finish platforming levels. Each level has 3 stars you can earn. In the platforming levels, the first star is earned from finishing the level for the first time. The second one is earned from completing the level for a certain amount of time after beating the level once. And the third star is earned from completing 4 challenges. In platforming levels, the first challenge requires you to get a certain amount of coins, the second from completing elemental gates, the third from completing swap zones, and the fourth from bashing chests. Well, except the one level from Ancient Woods. That one requires you to destroy 3 mana pumps. That's the one time the challenge is different, I don't know why. During the boss fight levels, the first challenge is from not taking damage during a certain attack, the second and third from matching the correct element and swappability, and the fourth is basically starving yourself. You know, you can't eat food, that's what I mean. The platforming levels are still a lot of fun. There's still a good amount of enemies you can fight and even room to explore. Oh, and I totally forgot to mention this, but Swap Force on the 3DS uses the original lock puzzle from Spyro's Adventure, which is really weird since Swap Force on the console versions uses the shock and bolt puzzles, but this puzzle is extremely slow and clunky compared to even how it was on Spyro's Adventure. They could have just left these out the game and it would have been perfect. The new swap zones, which can only be accessed by a swapper with the matching bottom half, are the biggest change to the levels. They're pretty much like elemental zones, only longer and restricted to a particular bottom half. You see, swappers get an additional move you can activate with the L button that corresponds with the swapper's ability, and basically the move is what gets you through the zone. It's a bit tedious since the special move has a cooldown period. I mean, sometimes there's items that replenish the gauge, but sometimes you're just sitting there till it fills up on its own. And then there's the climb zones that's just the same from the console versions. Once you complete a swap zone, you get a hat, just like from elemental gates and from within the level itself. The Count Moneybone fights have you fight Moneybone with a twist in each. The first one has you throw bombs to free the fairies, the second one requires you to put Moneybone in the squashing machine thing, and the third one has you dodge attacks while doing some platforming. I really like these fights. It gave the villain more screen time, and they didn't last too long that you grow tired of them, or too short that you want more. Coins, coins, coins. They're all over the place, and they do the exact exact same thing from the previous titles. You collect them in each level or from additional time from time challenges. Grabbing 10 will turn them into gold and double the amount for a short time, and at the end of the level, they are turned into experience. Skylanders now reach up to level 20, which means you'll be really busy if you want to level up all 174 Skylanders. Whenever a Skylander levels up, they get improvements in a particular category: health boost, damage boost, luck boost, an upgrade, or dodge chance. Swappers can use their Swap Force power as an attack, which is pretty cool. Giants still have a pretty cool feature in this game. They are able to break down objects that would require a bomb, which is a really nice feature. I mean, sometimes you're just too lazy to go get the bomb. Series 2 and Series 3 Skylanders have WoW Pals, which you can view in the upgrades from the pause menu. I mean, how hard was that, Giants? Series 2 and Series 3 figures from Swap Force do a better job with having WoW Pals that match the Skylanders figure, which was an issue with Series 2 figures from Giants. God damn, Giants was slacking. Listen, I used a bunch of Skylanders in this game. I did my best to switch between all Skylanders from all 3 games as much as possible, especially since I was only able to use a fraction of Skylanders and Giants. And you know what? Every Skylander works great. Since the gameplay mechanics hasn't really changed from the first game, every Skylander fits really well. All the Skylanders I used from Spyro's Adventure and Giants are still incredible. But we'll talk about some of my favorite Skylanders from Swap Force. Rattle Ranger works really good. I mean, straight out of the starter pack, you get the great combination of shooting snakes and you can become a freaking tornado. Freeze Charge is a great combination as well. You're able to throw enemies when you do the dash move and you can freeze enemies. Zulu has always been cool. You have birds, a wolf, and you can ride a boar. Smolder Dash is a blast to use. Her Fire Whip hits fast and she gets really powerful when she does the supernova thing. Listen, it was hard to find favorites in this game. I mean, I kid you not, I really liked pretty much all of these Skylanders. Except Sprocket, man. I don't know why they focus on her building stuff. I mean, this game is so fast paced, you don't got time to do that. Once you beat up Count Moneybone for the last time, Flynn's statue is returned, Callie is rescued, and Skylanders is officially safe. Not really much else to do after. You can go back and try to get all the stars, or you can do the 2 adventure pack levels. The Tower of Time and Sheepwreck Islands consist of only 1 level each, and they're pretty much watered down versions from the consoles. You still have Cluck and the Sheep Mage from each respective level, and I mean, it's okay. They're just kind of there at the end of the levels. I just wish we got more from these adventure packs since the original 4 came with 2 levels each. Definitely a lazy decision in my opinion. If you want to 100% complete the game, you'll need to summon 174 Skylanders, which is still a lot, do all challenges and get 63 stars, find all 136 hats, help Boomtown reach a full capacity of 20 residents, and complete all 9 zones, which is just completing all the levels including the adventure packs at least once. You have the same amount of levels in Swap Force as Giants, but the game will take you longer to complete since you have both elemental gates and swap zones to do, and it takes longer to switch between each Skylander. According to the game file, it took me 6.5 hours to beat, so speedrunning it should only take you about an hour. Skylanders Swap Force on 3DS is definitely my favorite 3DS Skylander game. The gameplay has been about the same as it's been on the last 2 titles, except for the addition of swap zones, but the fact that you're able to take your entire Skylander collection on the go, truly on the go, without having to take a huge bag of them with you, it's the best. Sure, you might be using a portal less, but you know what? It saves battery power since you don't need to scan in every time you beat a level. And yeah, I'm a big super fan of this series, so not everybody's gonna have 174 figures, but it's nice to be rewarded for having them since you're able to use them at any time, especially for holding on to the older figures. I mean, you're able to build up an army and still have Giants and Light Core functionality in them. I'm definitely glad I kept all these figures. Sure, this isn't a perfect game, but damn, fun platforming, an entertaining villain, funny characters, some of which were excluded in the console version, and cool characters to play as. I mean, sounds like a fun 3DS game to me, but I still have one question. How's the 3D? Oh yeah, I was playing on the 2DS. Well, that's going to be it for today's video. Let me know what you guys think of Skylanders Swap Force for the 3DS down in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching, and of course, I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. Another great Skylanders game on the 3DS. I can't wait to see what's next. Oh